Welcome to the December 2022 Phenomenal Feats ballot brought to you by the official Speedrun Hall of Fame. One of these moments will be forever remembered in a special gallery designed for those moments in time where a specific runner, run, or accomplishment deserves to be forever chronicled. Come with us and let's take a short look at each of these 4 moments, and then you can vote on which one you think made the greatest impact. Moment 1. Sinister 1 and Zallard 1 perform a blindfolded race of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out at AGDQ 2016.
It was still a scary run, because one slight misstep costs you a great deal of time in a run like this for a marathon. I've done a ton of runs for GDQ, and I'm massively nervous for every single one of them, no matter the difficulty of the run. Zallard 1.
Blindfolded speedrunning has been around for many years, ever since AGDQ 2010 when AndrewG attempted to beat Super Mario Bros. Blindfolded live during the marathon. Many people have been inspired to try their hand at this remarkable feat. And who better to attempt something this challenging than a speedrunner? Speedrunners play games over and over, so it's only natural that between muscle memory and repetition, as well as some clever strategies, speedrunners have time and time again proven that the challenge of doing speedruns without your eyesight is not only possible, but can be competitive and fun. I don't want to get into the history of blindfolded speedrunning too much today, as many others have done this better than we ever could in this short video. Summoning Salt made an excellent video discussing the history of blindfolded speedrunning and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, which covers a lot of the inspiration and hard work that went into the lead-up to AGDQ 2016 when this phenomenal feat candidate took place. Sinister 1 saw AndrewG's attempt at this blindfolded speedrun of Super Mario Bros. At AGDQ 2010, and as Sinister mastered Mike Tyson's Punch-Out more and more with time, he decided to learn and work on becoming the first person to beat Punch-Out blindfolded. And at AGDQ 2013, he attempted a run of the game, making it to Piston Honda 2 before he lost. He promised to attempt it again the following year. At Awesome Games Done Quick 2014, Sinister performed one of the most famous GDQ speedruns of all time, performing a blindfolded Punch-Out run all the way to Mike Tyson, a feat that was considered impossible up to that point. Sinister got an ovation and the run went viral, and it was a huge moment in speedrun history at that time, and still remains to this day one of the biggest blindfold runs ever. At that same AGDQ, Zallard 1 attempted a blindfolded run of Super Punch-Out on the SNES, and was able to complete the run.
I had finished a run of Super Punch-Out at my GDQ debut at AGDQ 2014, so I had some confidence I could do a good job with Mike Tyson's Punch-Out at AGDQ 2016. Secondly, Jack Wedge just discovered a consistent way to beat Tyson blindfolded for a marathon setting, making it reasonably possible to finish the game. Because of that discovery, Sinister 1 was interested in submitting a blindfolded run as well, so the timing seemed good for both of us to give it a shot. Zallard 1.
This led to a year of hard work and dedication, which led to a blindfolded race between the two at AGDQ 2016.
The logistical issues may not be apparent at first, but for an event that was just hitting its stride and becoming what it is today, that's a tricky thing to accommodate suddenly. When me and Sinister got there, we tried their noise-canceling headphones, and the ones the staff had just weren't strong enough. Imagine, Sinister counters the bull charge and the audience cheers wildly, and then I can't hear anything for the bull charge on my side. It'd be a disaster. We did a lot to strengthen the speedrun's consistency up until the event. Jack found dozens of buffer strategies, but Sinister and I found a few more refinements. Even Summoning Salt found a couple of things for Bull 2 and Sandman for the run. Zallard 1.
The two were evenly matched and the race was very tight. Every fight was meticulously planned out, each buffer carefully pressed at the correct time. Hundreds of hours of dedication and practice and effort culminated into what might be the biggest GDQ race in their lives, and certainly in Punch-Out's history.
I think the biggest thing about this run in particular was that it was a blindfolded race. Blindfolded runs at the time were already barely ever done due to their difficulty, especially at marathons, but having a blindfolded race at AGDQ seemed to be one of those runs that upped the ante a little bit. That led to the mindset of wacky runs that have followed, like the time I did 2 Punch-Out games with one controller at AGDQ 2018, or the incredible 2-player, 1-controller blindfolded run at AGDQ 2020 with me and Sinister. The funniest thing about that run was that our combined 2-player run actually beat both of our race times from the 2016 run, which is pretty special when considering how hard it is. Zallard 1.
Years later, thanks to their hard work, blindfolded speedrunning is a big trend. Just recently, Crystal Saver was able to get a sub-hour and blindfolded 90% of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Many other gamers have taken on the challenge. Even Zallard and Sinister continue to perform these amazing punch-out blindfolded runs. Just at AGDQ 2020, they were able to perform a blindfolded co-op run of Punch-Out, which was another first and was an absolutely incredible feat to witness. The coordination and synchronization required to execute this is mind-boggling and just goes to show how talented these two are. May these brave souls that take these blindfolded challenges on continue to do so for years to come. Moment 2. Boba Witch discovers a 2+ minute skip in Metal Gear Solid in 2021, now known as Boba Skip. Metal Gear Solid is a very optimized and tight speedrun to say the least. A game this popular with almost 100 runs on the leaderboard, the top runs have become closer and closer to the limit over time. As of August 2021, the leaderboard was already very competitive, with a world record of 36 minutes 56 seconds by the runner D-Limes13.
To find a skip this huge in a game that's this optimized and this competitive, I think that's pretty remarkable. I mean, consider for a second that in August of 2021, the month that this glitch was found, the world record back then wouldn't even be in the top 20 today. I don't know, just for me, that's pretty incredible.
That all changed that summer when a streamer named Boba accidentally found a game-changing skip in Metal Gear Solid.
My name is Boba. I play a bunch of different games, usually when I meet someone in real life and they're like, what do you do for work? And I say, I do video games on YouTube and Twitch. They're like, what video games do you play? And all information completely leaves my brain and I cannot think of a single video game. So I just play a bunch of different games, basically. Content creation, be an idiot on the internet, that sort of thing.
Boba is a popular Let's Player and YouTuber, also known as Boba Witch. Once known for her playthroughs of horror games, she now plays a variety of different titles, and in August of 2021, she was playing Metal Gear Solid for the first time when...
And I get in this tower with this super long staircase, and I die in there a whole bunch. I think I ended a stream after dying a whole bunch in the staircase, and I was like, I'll see you next time. And then I played again on my next stream, and I was struggling over and over and over trying to get up this staircase. And part of the way up the staircase, there was this door which was like, oh, you're not allowed to go through here. And I just kept dying over and over again. I was panicking and just smashing a bunch of buttons. And I leaned up against the door that I knew I wasn't supposed to be able to get through. And I went to switch to the level clearance that I got because I thought, you know what? Maybe if I just mess with this a few times, it will do something, because I had just recently done that fight where it's you have to take the controller out and switch it or something. So I was like, I'm supposed to do something weird and I just don't know it. So I just kind of panicked a lot and pressed some buttons, and I opened my inventory and tried to switch some things. And then all of a sudden I was on the other side of the door, and I was kind of happy because I thought, okay, I finally figured out what I was supposed to do. And so I was on the other side of the door and I started singing because I was like, great, I don't have to fight these idiots anymore that are killing me over and over again. And my friend, who has played the game and really likes it and, was really excited for me to play it, was like, not supposed to be there, and I think you've skipped part of the game and also part of the story. And then I was just upset because I thought, oh my god, I'm gonna have to do this stairwell all over again because I don't want to skip any of this story.
Her accidental glitch would change Metal Gear Solid speedrunning forever, and nobody at that time knew it.
The Boba Skip was one of the most wholesome community collaborative experiences that I've ever been a part of. It was an absolute delight, just sort of chaos of 24 to 48 hours. We had a member of the community share Boba's tweet, which was just simply her skipping through the door with the caption, "Get wrecked speedrunners."
I had no idea, because I just was like, oh, at first I thought I just figured it out. And then after, I think it wasn't for a few days until I tweeted about it. And I just didn't even think it was going to make much of a difference, because someone's like, oh, speedrunners will want to know about that. So I think I said something like, get wrecked speedrunners or something. And then I tweeted about it.
It didn't take long for her find to spread like wildfire through the speedrun community.
They posted it quite innocently, thinking, someone will say, yeah, we know about this, it doesn't work, you can't put it in a role, whatever like that, but no one had ever seen it. And upon seeing it, the whole community kind of collectively lost their minds. And very, very quickly, things started to happen. We had people piling into the voice channels and sharing clips and sharing thoughts. People were contacting Boba, which version of the game were you running, because we've got so many different versions of Metal Gear Solid 1. What system were you playing it on, and things like that. And very quickly it became understood what was actually happening. So what is happening in the video is that when Snake takes damage, there is a 50-50 chance, depending on which animation plays, that Snake's hitbox will expand. And his hitbox was expanding just enough to hit the trigger zone for the exit on the other side of the Tower A door, because that trigger zone is closer to the door than any other zone in the game. Normally you have to go all the way through the door before you hit that trigger, but it's right up against the door. Boba took damage and Snake clipped back enough into that zone.
I left my PC for a few hours or went to do something, and then when I came back I had a lot of messages that were like, oh my god, what were you doing at that exact moment? Can you repeat what you were doing and all of this? And it just was like, all of a sudden, then there was the Metal Gear Solid speedrunning community in the Discord call, everyone trying to figure out what I did. And I just was like, oh, I guess I did something. I don't know.
It didn't take long for someone to replicate it, and then other people were replicating it on multiple different platforms. Every single version of the game, it seemed, could do this trick. And then we started to look at, well, how can we make it better? If Snake's taking damage from one of the guards, what if he self-inflicted damage? What if he let a stun grenade or a chaff grenade explode in his hand? And that developed that method, which is the method that most runners now use today in their runs. We got featured on news websites, gaming news websites like Kotaku and Eurogamer, sharing these clips, sharing clips from people, sharing runs that had already been done. It was just amazing. And the other thing, of course, with Boba being part of Yogscast, the Yogscast community were instrumental in developing that hype. They were all super hyped for it. It was amazing.
Though it took a few days for the news to leak, once it did, the Metal Gear Solid Discord was full of speedrunners trying to replicate the glitch, and once it was found how to consistently reproduce what Boba had done by mistake, the biggest new find in years was confirmed, and Boba Skip was born. Although she didn't want to call it that at first, preferring to call it Kevin instead.
See, when it first happened, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know how people name them. So I was like, well, I don't want to name it anything where it sounds like I'm conceited or something. So I was like, what name do I really like? And I remember because my English teacher would always talk about his friend who had a cat named Kevin. And I was like, Kevin is such a funny name for something that's not a person. So I was like, you know what? Just call it Kevin. I like it both ways, but I did name it Kevin because I was like, I don't want anyone to be like, this idiot doesn't speedrun. Why should we name it after her? And then they're like, no, we want to. So I'm fine either way.
This is one of the biggest strat finds in years.
I just didn't really understand, and I think once there started to be some interaction with the tweet, I was kind of looking into it, and I think I joined the Discord where they were all in a voice call, actively trying to figure it out, and I just thought it was really fun. I just thought it was neat, because I know about speedrunning, and it wasn't something that I was crazy into before, but after watching them try to figure it out, and I have a few friends that speedrun games too, but it was just really nice to get to interact with a bunch of new people that I otherwise wouldn't have gotten to interact with.
IGN even wrote a short article about it.
The reception of it, Kojima retweeted it and stuff, and I just thought, cool, maybe now I can get verified on Twitter.
This put Boba on the map in the world of speedrunning, where she will live on as a legend for all eternity.
Let me give a little shout out to the Metal Gear Speedrunners Discord, which is really great. They're all super nice there.
As I said, it's one of the most wholesome experiences that I've had, because it's people coming together to share in excitement, to share in something new and mysterious and wacky, and online in a space that's quite often full of negativity. It was just so refreshing to see something like this, and I think it's for those reasons that the Boba Skip definitely deserves a place in the Speedrunning Hall of Fame.
Moment 3. AndrewG nails the first ever Sub-5 in Super Mario Bros. In 2010.
I hope that I'm accurate, because it has been a while. It's like it's been longer than like you think it has. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that was like 4 or 5 years ago. It's like we're like 10, 11 years ago. Yeah.
When you think of a speedrun, there's likely only a few games that come immediately to mind. For some, titles like The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Super Metroid, or Super Mario 64. For others, perhaps it's Portal, Pokemon, or even GoldenEye. But it's hard to say that many games out there are as eponymous with speedrunning as Super Mario Bros. On the NES. And when you talk about Mario speedruns, there's one person that comes to mind when you talk about milestones.
It's always funny when people say that, because I'm like, that's kind of cool. No, I feel like it's weird being the person that, like, a lot of people, speedrunners you watch, they got started because they watched my stuff. It's like, I don't know, it's weird. Just to be like that person. It's a cool thing. It's a cool feeling.
Without going into the man's accolades too much here, AndrewG is considered to be the most influential Super Mario Bros. Speedrunner of all time.
When AndrewG first achieved the Sub-5 back in December of 2010, it was a huge milestone at the time. No one really thought the game could be beaten in under 5 minutes, and he did just that all those years ago. And all these years later, myself and many other runners throughout the years, we wanted to achieve that same goal that he did. So he was a huge inspiration for us in the SMB1 community, and it was really cool to see the Sub-5 happen.
One of the first people to really work on grinding the time down, he was the world record holder for many, many years before he was able to finally complete Super Mario Bros. In under 5 minutes, accomplishing this feat on December 24th, 2010.
Well, I mean, when I started it wasn't even possible. Strategy-wise, it wasn't even realistic until like 2007 when I got the 5 minute run. After that, I thought it seemed like it probably was possible, because in my 5 minute run I messed up the wall jump in the last stage by just a little bit, like about half a second. So I was like, so under 5 minutes is probably possible. At the time, that 5 minute run was like insane, even though it's really, like, by today's standards, in a way it's not that special. I mean, it depends on the context. I mean, for back then, it was crazy. I mean, I didn't have save states or anything, so it's like just a lot different kind of process.
So back in 2010, there weren't any practice ROMs of any kind, so we couldn't practice any stages one by one. Instead, we would have to play the game from start to finish and see what would work and what wouldn't work. And in order to get a Sub-5, you pretty much have to play every level without bonking into anything, getting pipe jumps. Then in 8-4, got to get the wall jump. In the wall jump room, got to get the turnaround. So you can load up the next screen, which is the water section, and try not to bonk into anything there and avoid the fire bars. And then especially in the very final screen, dealing with Bowser, since he has multiple different hammer patterns, even though he jumps like forward, backwards, or even change direction, it's hard to tell without knowing what frame rules we would be on and what kind of pattern we would get. So achieving a Sub-5 is definitely pretty difficult at the time, but now that we have resources, it is definitely attainable.
After implementing many time saves into his run, including the fast 4-2 setup and the wrong warp that made Sub-5 possible.
Yeah, I think I got a 5 minute 0.2 seconds, if I remember right. Yeah, I think it was 2010. After I did that, I think I had made some little mistakes, and so I thought, this is definitely possible. You know, I got some help with strategy from a guy named Weir Window for 4-2. For like the bumps, the backward bumps. I had been doing them, and then he thought, oh, maybe you could do it like this. And I think I changed the strategy a little bit, and it ended up saving some time. So at that point, it was like, I know it's possible, and I know I can do it. So I'm gonna put this together.
As well as his own journey to accomplish what he thought of as the perfect run. He would go on to improve his record many times, paving the way for the reigns of future record holders such as Darbian and Cosmic and many other Super Mario Bros. Speedrunners to come.
Today we have over 300 runners with a Sub-5 and SMB1 80%. Ever since AndrewG attained the goal back in 2010, many runners strive to achieve that same thing throughout the years, and to see that many people have it, and it's still growing to this day, it is pretty astounding to see.
Super Mario Brothers is like, I always think that the run is gonna be like, I always think that it's like perfect. I get a, like when I got my 5 minute 0.6 seconds, I know that I messed up the wall jump, but I was like, I don't even know if a 459 is possible. At that point in time, I had gotten all the frame rolls that were available, so it's like, if I improve the last stage, then a 459 could probably happen. I mean, I think my 5-minute run, and especially the 459, it was such a big milestone. Like, I think it brought me into the spotlight a lot more. For it to finally get under 5 minutes, it was a big deal.
And returning runner-up from November 2022, Moment 4, 1990 Nintendo World Championships.
The year was 1990. Ninja Turtles and the Fresh Prince were the hottest franchises. We celebrated the launch of the Hubble Space Telescope. It was a time we all feel was a simpler one, before the internet. A time we're nostalgic for these days, in more ways than one. And that year, 1990, marked the first time in years a game developer would host a contest to allow the most skilled gamers in the United States to compete for prizes. Nintendo was on top of the world in 1990, with Super Mario Bros. 3 taking the gaming community by storm. Not to mention, the Game Boy was quickly turning heads with Tetris as its packing game. In 1989, a film starring Fred Savage was produced with Nintendo's blessing, and The Wizard would take theaters by storm. Okay, maybe not quite by storm, but it did cause many gamers to look up when Nintendo was so inspired by the film's in-universe video game competition that they decided to put their own on. Nintendo picked 29 lucky cities across America where kids and adults alike could compete in 3 age groups where prizes were given away to the winners. These prizes included a brand new 1990 Geo Prism, a $10,000 savings bond, copies of the legendary Nintendo World Championships NES cartridge, and more. This event was widely advertised on children's networks as well as video game magazines, such as the extremely popular Nintendo Power. Therefore, hundreds of contestants were able to travel and compete for the finals, which were held in Hollywood, California. The winners were finally determined after many rounds of competition. Players were required to play 3 games to a preset goal. Super Mario Bros., where players needed to gather 50 coins, Rad Racer, where you had to complete the first track, and finally, NES Tetris, where players could then stack lines and rack up that score. Winners were determined by that final score. Jeff Hansen won in the 11 and under category, Thor Ackerland won in the 12 to 17-year-old group, and Robert Whiteman won in the 18 and older adult competition, marking the 3 champions from each age group. And this moment would transform video gaming and gaming competition in many people's eyes. This was just one step towards the successful eSports and speedrunning scenes that we have today, which might not have been possible without Nintendo and Universal Studios making it happen.
So tell us, which of these phenomenal feats will be forever inducted into the Speedrun Hall of Fame in December 2022? Vote now and help the community decide. Link is in the description below, and thank you so much for watching.